Taking these shots like it's okay. Didn't know it before. Sometimes when you feel so, one day I'm feeling for you, shorty. Never got a feeling this hard. Harder than the liquor at pour. Tell me you don't want me no more, but I can't let go. Everybody told me so. Feeling like I sold my soul. Devil in the form of a horse. Devil in the form of a horse. You said, now you said, you said, don't be together. Wind keep blowing, but you keep on blowing. Problems and no showing, and then showing. Didn't know it before. Surprise when you put me on guard. Mondays and give me a walk. You was not a shorty I thought. Going out and dancing if you get the chance. Break on speed on around. All you wanna know, all you wanna go. Fighting for survival. And start where we park the car. Ain't showing signs of stop. Your little girls make it to the curb. Ready to lay on the cover. If you wanna go, I'm gonna go. I got a fighter. Come take my hand. Hope you see your man. Baby, it's gonna be a big one. Baby, it's gonna be a big one. See the lights and we the vibe. It's gonna be a start. I've got something here. If you give me one more thing, I'm gonna color out. I don't wanna say what I have to say. If I take it up, if I wanna go, I'm gonna go. I'm going back down south now. I'm going back down south. I'm going back down south. If you wanna go, going back down south. Come and take my hand. I'm going back down south. And see the light. And we don't fight. I'm going back down south now. I'm going back down south now. I'm going back down south. Starry night, but you gone. Where the ocean gets the sun show. Never thought would come to pass. With lifetimes been through, I love you like a fire remain. Oh, you know you love that to be a hurricane. You believe with kisses so softly. May love forever, baby. May love forever. Oh, I don't let you go that easy. You got to say your love too.
Access our interpretation services for today's meeting. Nancy.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Hand, and I'll be the interpreter for this morning's meeting. And I will first describe how to use the interpretation function in Spanish and then in English. Buenos días, mi nombre es Nancy Hand. Yo soy la intérprete para la sesión del día de hoy. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, el globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, en un celular, tableta, etcétera, presione los puntos suspensivos o 3 puntos, luego Interpretation y luego el idioma. Gracias. To use the Zoom interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, which looks like a globe, and select English as your language. If you are joining using the Zoom mobile app on a cell phone, tablet, or other device, please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. At this time, I would like to ask the clerk to confirm that we have a quorum.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Well, again, welcome to the March 8th meeting of the Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee. As always, would like to thank staff for all their efforts in pulling this meeting together. Just wanted to briefly talk about how this meeting will work. And we will take in-person public comments followed by virtual public comments. If you're a member of the public here in the room, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk if you wish to make a comment. For those virtual, for those attending virtually today, please continue to raise your hand at the right time. And just again, want to make sure everybody knows that public comment is possible both in person and virtually via Zoom. At this time, I want to ask Sandag's Financial Programming Analyst, Michael Turlip, to provide a quick reminder on how the public and member comments will work, please.
Thank you, Chair Frankel. So we will be taking both in-person and virtual public comments as noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda. In addition to emailing comments, the public may also provide live comments during today's meeting. In order to provide live comments, you can join today's Zoom meeting through the link or by dialing one of the numbers from your phone that are provided on the cover page of today's meeting agenda. Join the meeting by clicking on the Join Webinar link provided in the confirmation email you'll receive upon registering. When public comments are called for on an item on the Zoom platform, click on the raise hand icon in the Zoom toolbar. The chair will call on you by the name you provided. If you're participating by telephone, press *9. The chair will call on you by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. The instructions for providing live comments are also on the bottom of the cover page of today's meeting agenda, which can be accessed from the homepage of Sandag's website, www.sandag.org. All comments, whether emailed or live, will be made a part of today's meeting record. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Okay, at this time, we will begin our agenda items, beginning with item number 1, which is public comments, communications, and member comments. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to address the committee on an item not on today's agenda. If you're here to speak on an item on the agenda, please hold your comments until the appropriate time. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Chair, we do not have any comments on this item.
Great. And so I will move to member comments. And I have the wonderful privilege today of beginning what I think will be some wonderful recognition for Ariana Zerdneden, who has managed the TransNet program for many, many years. How long, Ariana, have you been doing it?
Been at Sandag for 15 and worked on TransNet for about 13 of those.
So, and this is Ariana's last meeting with us today as manager of the TransNet program. So in my short time here, it's always been just absolutely wonderful working with Ariana. She's a consummate professional and she makes us look good up here. Often, especially as a newer member, it's very complicated. The matters that we're dealing with, trying to performance audits, financial data, governance related issues, the structure of the agency, all of these things. And even for someone who had some baseline knowledge, it was always Ariana always had an open door policy to be able to ask her questions and to gently correct us when needed, right? When we make misstatements up here, which happens. So I know I will miss Ariana very much. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. It's been a pleasure to work with you. Thank you so much for all you do for us and for Sandag.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And you know, open it up to others.
I would just like to echo your comments. Ariana, I've been here 9 or 10 years and I've known no one else but you in this position. It's been great. Thank you so much. I'm sure you get tired of my constant emails. What's this? What's that? How to do this? And I've decided since you're leaving, I'm going to leave too. So in May, I'm out. Now, I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've only been here 3 years and I'm going to miss you already. So thanks for your support and your help and good luck in your future endeavors. We will truly appreciate all you've done.
Yes, I'll have the last word. Thank you for all your guidance, your patience. You've been very responsive. You've been just wonderful to work with. It's been a pleasure. And what a wonderful day to recognize you on International Women's Day and all your accomplishments. So thank you. We're going to really, really miss you. But you are leaving it in capable hands. You've done very well getting Zara and Michael up to speed. So thank you so much. Thank you very much.
And so on behalf of iTalk, we would love to present you with a plaque. And hopefully you can put this in your new office somewhere and you'll remember us. So Ariana.
You guys want to get in the?
Yeah, let's go. Come on, guys.
That becomes harder.
You got to get in the middle.
Oh,
You gotta-
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Awesome. Congratulations. Ari.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations. Thank you.
You're welcome. Meeting adjourned? Yes. Wishful thinking. Okay, wonderful. We will now move on to item 2 on today's agenda, which is our agency report presented by Mr. Dujon.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to the committee. So I'm happy to share that we are extending the Youth Opportunity Pass program. For now, the extension is for a few months, but the fiscal year 2024 draft budget that is going to the board later this month identifies funding for another year. We continue to look forward for funding to expand to age 24 and under so that all young adults can ride transit for free. This program has been more successful than we have imagined. Youth ridership is at an all-time high. And we look forward to working with MTS, NCTD, and the county to make this program even more bigger going forward. So the regional plan is a driving force behind much of what we do here at Sandag. As you're aware, we are taking the road usage charge out of the 2021 regional plan, and we have started talking to communities and working groups about the 2025 update to the plan. We had a very successful kickoff workshop with all our working groups a few weeks ago, and next week we will kick off our tribal consultation with our tribal transportation working group. We are actively working to keep our priority projects on track. This includes the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. We are working with many federal and state partners so that together we can deliver the state-of-the-art border crossing for our binational region. Unfortunately, costs have gone up as inflation pressures continue, and we are working to ensure that we have funding to keep the project on schedule. When open, this project will provide many benefits to not only our region, but also the state and the nation. We're very pleased that the CTC has allocated the first $152 million of the $300 million we received last year for the Delmar Bluffs project. We are starting the environmental and design work, and we are doing everything we can to get funding to keep other low sand projects moving forward. Another priority project that is moving forward is the Central Mobility Hub. San Diego region is unfortunately, only one of the major metro areas not to have a rail connection to the airport. The Central Mobility Hub will make the connection to the airport and the rest of the region. We are moving forward to planning and we'll share more with you soon. We're also looking at ways to use data and technology to make our roadways work smarter through our Smart Connections projects, and we are identifying corridors in the region for demonstration projects. We're also starting planning for improvements to the Blue Line, the busiest rail line in our region, and for the first commuter rail line in San Diego, the Purple Line. Both projects will provide critical connections to jobs and opportunities in our region. In recent events, we proudly congratulate Chairwoman Nora Vargas, who was awarded the keys to the city of Tijuana last Friday. The Chairwoman is an excellent example of our thriving cross-border community. We are proud to work with her to improve our region to both sides of the border. In February, we received an exciting honor from the United Nations. They identified Sandag as a model of our regional collaboration and want to share our work with the world. They have asked us to attend their General Assembly in June in Kenya. This is an incredible opportunity for the San Diego region to be recognized as a major metropolitan area. Sandag also received several other awards recently. Our Open Data Portal was selected for the 2023 Data and Insights Tyler Excellence Award for the public sector. The San Diego Lagoon Restoration Project is receiving an Environmental Business Journal Award. The Delmar Bluffs Emergency Repairs was awarded the American Society of Civil Engineers Region-renowned Outstanding Geotechnical Engineering Project. Wow, that's a mouthful. And congratulations to our hardworking staff who make all these impressive projects come to life. Excuse me. A quick update on the downtown stopover. Last fall, we received approval of our federal environmental clearance to complete the purchase of a portion of the property from the San Diego County Bar Association. We are currently working to complete the purchase of the remaining 2 parcels on the site and are working with MTS on the interim and long-term improvements for a stopover. Finally, as you know, this committee is seeking qualified members to fill 2 open positions. If you know anybody who's a good fit, please direct them to our new section on our website. Thank you, Chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dijon, for your report. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, Chair, no public comments on this item.
And bringing it back to the members, any comments, questions for Andre?
Question. So, Andre, you mentioned the environmental review starting for the Delmar Bluffs project. Can you remind me what alternatives or what we're looking at in that environmental document, what alignment, or if not, if somebody can get back to me at some point in the not too distant future before May, preferably?
Actually, luckily for us, we have our capital program director with us today, Sharon, and so I'll let her respond.
Good morning, everyone. Sharon Humphreys. I'm the Director of Engineering and Construction at Sandag. And I understand you have a question about the alignment alternatives that we're looking at for Delmar Bluffs. So we've completed an alternatives analysis that is looking at two refined alternatives. We're going to be taking that information into, we're going to be starting environmental clearance. And so we'll be taking that information into our environmental clearance process and looking at those alternatives as well as, any other kind of input. There'll be a lot of opportunity for the public to provide input for looking at other alternatives. And so we'll be reaching out to everybody in the region for input on that. So nothing is set in stone. Everything is, we're looking at all kinds of different solutions to get those tracks off the bluffs and then get them safely inland.
So the two that you're looking at, I mean, as I recall, there was an alignment that kind of paralleled I-5. There was a Crest Canyon alignment. There was kind of a Camino del Mar cut and cover alignment.
Mhm.
Are all three still in play?
The alignments that we're looking at right now, the challenge with this project is that we're going to be looking to be able to move trains at 110 miles per hour. And so there's only so steep and that you can go. And the grade, and then there's only so tight you can make curves in order to be able to go those speeds. So you're correct. We're looking at those, the Crest Canyon, and then also, so the alignments, as they come from the south, they'll go across Los Penasquitos Lagoon. One alignment, kind of hugs closer to I-5, but then it has to curve over underground to meet San Dieguito double track, San Dieguito Bridge. It'll be double track by the time we construct. And I'm very, I have high confidence that we will get the funding in order to double track that bridge. So the point of connection at the north will be the south end of hopefully the new bridge. And then, of course, the other alignment kind of cuts across Los Penasquitos Lagoon and kind of follows a more similar alignment to what is currently there. But we're going to be looking at, we're collecting information on, we'll be collecting biological information. We're going to want to avoid sensitive environmental resources. We're going to make sure that everything works from a technical perspective. So there's a lot of challenges and opportunities ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Sunny.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Sunny.
I wasn't aware that you're going with 110 mile per hour speed. Is that for passenger rail, basically accommodations?
Yes, our vision for the corridor is to be able to go at 110 mile per hour speeds. Ultimately, the vision is to be able to go from Santa Fe Depot to Los Angeles Union Station in 2 hours. But that's going to involve, as you are well aware, many improvements along the corridor, curve straightening in various locations, because again, you can't take tight turns at 110 miles per hour. So that's the ultimate vision. And so we're making sure that everything we do does not preclude that vision.
Is that also to accommodate a future high-speed train eventually? Is that?
Well, high-speed trains can go, 200 to 300 miles per hour. We're designing to 110, so I would call it higher speed, but not high speed, because if we wanted to go to 200 to 300 miles, that straightens out those curves and flattens that grade.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Andre, I had a question about the Youth Opportunity Pass. Do we have data yet about, how many students, youths are taking advantage of the program, total trips, things like that?
I know that there's been 5 million users. As far as the further data than that, I don't know if we could certainly get all that information for you, but I just know that we did reach that milestone just last month.
Yes.
I have one more question for Andre. I heard couple of days ago about the Central Mobility Hub that there were some delays. Is that, I know you said you were basically continuing to work on it. So can you confirm what that means?
Since Colleen, I'll reach
Putting
to
you on
for
the
that.
spot.
We love this. Colleen Clemens, and I'm Sandag Deputy CEO. So A couple of things. One, we are collecting data on the Youth Opportunity Pass. Some of it we have, it's 18 and under, so we kind of assume that most of those are students. As we look at 24 and under, that will be a different story. So just on that. On the Central Mobility Hub, we're continuing to complete a study that we plan to bring to the board in the next couple of months. So that work is still underway. We've been looking at a bunch of different alternatives. You might be aware that the city of San Diego is looking at the Civic Center as a potential location. We're still considering Santa Fe Depot and still looking at the Navwar site. So work is continuing on all of those. I think, there's every time we get ready to finalize a study, new information comes out. So we want it to be as up to date as possible when we bring that forward.
Great. Thank you, Colleen.
Okay, seeing no other member comments, we will move to our consent agenda today. And we have 4 items on consent today. So do we have any comments or questions regarding consent items today? Members? No, seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd like to move to approve.
I'll second.
Great. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. And I just wanted to confirm for the record also that there were no public comments on the consent calendar. For CEO Private Sector, Sunny House.
Approve.
Finance and Budgeting is absent. For Real Estate Right-of-Way Acquisition, Chair Frankel.
Yes.
For Biology Environmental, Dustin Fuller.
Yes.
For Licensed Engineer, Les Hopper.
Approve.
Licensed Civil Traffic Engineer is absent and Contractor Construction is also absent. So that motion does pass unanimously with those members present.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, we will move on to item number 7, which is actions by the Transportation Committee and Board of Directors and related TransNet agenda items. And this is going to be presented by Zara Siddiqui. Zara.
Yes, thank you, Chair Frankel. Last month, the Transportation Committee recommended and the board approved the FY 2024 to FY 2028 TransNet program and transit-related revenues. At its February 24 meeting, the board also approved a 2% adjustment to the Regional Transportation Congestion Improvement Program beginning July 1, 2023. Specialized Transportation Grant Program Cycle 12 funding recommendations was also on the Board of Directors February 24th agenda, and the board voted to approve the funding recommendations for the STGP Cycle 12 call for projects as recommended by the Transportation Committee, directed the Transportation Committee to review the grant funding award process for future cycle and assess whether or not there are additional funding opportunities for the Right Fact program. That concludes the presentation for this month, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zara. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. We have no public comments on this item.
Thank you. And bringing it back to the members, any member comments? No, seeing none. Okay, we'll move on to item 8. And this is an update on the North Coast Corridor project. And we have Alan Cossop from Caltrans. Alan, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. Boy, I've spent so long, I forgot the process here. Let's see. Hey, look at that. All right. It's great to be back in person. I'm Alan Cossop. I'm the corridor director for North County Corridors. So when we talk about Build NCC, just as a reminder, Build NCC was a collection of projects that included double track in Cardiff, restoration of the San Alejo Lagoon, and extending the carpool lane from basically Solana Beach to Route 78. In addition, a number of active transportation improvements in there. That's really one umbrella, one contractor team, FSSW, which is Flatiron, Skanska, and Stacy Whitbeck, and then a number of contracts that sort of fit under that umbrella. And the map up here shows, the good news is we've been working on this since really 2016 in terms of construction. A lot of it's already complete and the public's been using it. And really the last remaining construction of significance is up at the north end there between Palomar and SR 78. And that's what this slide shows. Projects are closed out. The ones with the green checks are projects that are complete and closed out. The good news was no construction claims. That was one of the big advantages of using CMGC. This is a CMGC contract. And so one of the big advantages was cost certainty. And we're showing that to be true. The Manchester to Palomar piece through Encinitas is complete. We're doing plan establishment and wrap up work at the Park and Ride at Manchester, and I'll show you some slides of that later. The last remaining piece is going out to construction here in the next few months. That's what's called the Carlsbad Community Enhancements. And I'll show you what's in there. This shows you the status of the last remaining carpool section from Palomar Airport Road to 78. You see the lanes are in place. Last remaining is the barrier. Like all of construction in San Diego, we've been fighting the weather a little bit. We're very hopeful that we can get this open to traffic by late May, early June. So that once we get that open, we're talking about these community enhancements, and here's a little bit of detail of what's in there. One additional remaining sound wall in Carlsbad there at Chestnut. You're familiar with what we've done in Encinitas, which is basically push back the undercrossing walls and then put a bike path in and then put an art in those undercrossings. The last remaining location where we're doing that is Chestnut. So that'll be in this last phase of construction. And then at Palomar Airport Road, we're truing up and making 90 degrees the ramps there. So, you know, from a safety perspective, active transportation, the old fashioned sort of free rights on and off the freeway are, you know, really problematic for active transportation. And so you see us fixing that here at Palomar Airport Road, as well as putting in a class 4 to better connect the beach and the community on the east and west. So those are some of the main points in the last project. And then we have a technology package that gets rolled out in the last package. And this affects the entire corridor. And the idea is to start bringing on board, Andre was talking about sort of the next lift of technology, and the RTP talks about next OS. And that really revolves a lot around this vehicle to infrastructure connection. How do you do that? And so the idea of what's building on I-5 is plug and play. So let's put the infrastructure in the fiber and let's start bringing on the applications that we think are doable in the short term. Those applications, and so essentially what happens is for cars that have the technology, we'll be speaking directly to the cars. And in 4 applications, those could be the queue warning. So that as folks approach congestion, their car gets, hey, slow down. Warning if any of the Caltrans people or contractors are on foot on the road. That's the second thing. Signal phasing, essentially the sort of first generation smart signals, so that signals start judging if people are going to run a red light, how do we hold the pedestrians, and so more real-time analysis of the intersections. And then the last thing is wrong way driving, wrong way drivers. You've seen a number of packages throughout the district in terms of lighted stop signs and arrows on the pavement. We're trying lots of different things in order to reduce wrong way drivers, right? We don't get a lot of them. The ones we do end terribly. And so this package is sort of another idea here where we would talk to the vehicles. If the technology senses a wrong way driver on a ramp, it's going to send out a message to folks on the freeway, as well as, connections to emergency vehicles and things. So that's what's in when we talk about the technology package in the last project. Here are some things that are coming in the next couple of years on I-5. Just touch a little bit on what some cleanup things that we're doing in the south part of the corridor. If you've been to Encinitas Boulevard, you've seen this, the art come in there. Want to highlight, this is a great example of partnerships working with the cities. this was sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? We had to redo the interchange, redo the walls, and the city asked us, can you build a spot for our art? If we go procure an artist and we go procure the art, can we work together and integrate it into the new construction? And you see the results of this. I think it looks really awesome. Moving a little bit south down the road, this is at Birmingham. Or I'm sorry, not Birmingham, Manchester. Lagoons there to your south. This is the Park and Ride mobility hub improvements that we're doing there for active transportation and park and ride. So it'll be sort of the trail nexus for everything for folks who want to access the lagoon. It gives them another place to park and connect to the trails. Our hanging bridge is just to the west of this photo. So this is in its home stretch. We had a lot of utilities to move, several utility agencies we needed to work with. Home stretch, it should be open to the public by May as well. So just a couple months away. We've always tried to share what remaining risks we have on the project. The good news is most of them are retired. All of the problematic stuff is the underground things, the foundation work for the bridges, all that's complete. The last one is cost escalation. We talked about, we have that one big contract left. Cost escalation is an issue the entire state's facing. If you look at the Caltrans construction index for the state, which is essentially a snapshot of 5 major cost drivers, such as asphalt, roadway X, PCC, concrete for either pavement or bridges. That index jumped over 20 points in the last calendar year, which is sort of a high, very high jump. Not all the items are moving in parallel, and certainly some of this is probably a bump, and then hopefully we see a little bit of coming back to normal, but we'll see. And so just wanted to highlight that one. We're also seeing fewer bids, which is an indication of a lot of competition out there and maybe throughout the state, right? So work in LA, maybe pulling away contractors from San Diego. And that also is upward pressure on the prices. So we continue to monitor that one. And I did want to leave you with one snapshot of what the performance data looks like, of what you see out there. This was supposed to be animated, so this is going to be a little bit difficult, but hang with me here. So the orange line, that one second to the top, that's what it looked like before we built the project. So if you're looking at what this graph is telling you is time of the day is the horizontal axis on the bottom. We're looking in this particular graph, we're looking northbound, sort of in the Encinitas area. And then the time of the trip is on your left. And so if there's no congestion, you kind of see the dash line there, that represents no congestion. The orange line, the second one from the top, represents what it looked like prior to the project and prior to COVID. And you see it probably took about 6 or 7 minutes longer during the peak periods to get through there on average. The red line, but the blue line in the middle represents what was happening during COVID. So you saw it drop, less demand. But then the red line on the very top shows you what it was post-COVID. And so you saw it really returning almost worse than it was in 2017. Now, some of the things could be amplifying that, like construction. So I don't know that that's, but you definitely see it rebounding to almost post-COVID levels. The blue line and the green line are where we are today. And so the good news is, since we opened the HOV, everybody on the freeway, all the general purpose lanes have seen a benefit, a significant benefit, not only from where they were just a year or two ago, but where they were in 2017. And then you see the carpool lanes, which is the bottom line, running free, which is that incentive, right? We're trying to incentivize people using the carpool lanes, using the transit in the carpool lanes. So you're still seeing a significant benefit for using the HOV. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, just to, this is something we continue to monitor to make sure that we're making smart investments and we're accomplishing our objectives. So with that, any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Kossoff. We appreciate, as always, it's great to see you in person. We've done these past few on Zoom. So we appreciate you taking the time to be here. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do have one public comment, Tim Eilish. You can go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, group. Thank you for taking my comments. My name is Dr. Timothy Bylash. I live up in mid-county coastal Del Mar, San Diego City, in the middle of everywhere but nowhere. And very interested in the actions of SANDAG, and thank you, Caltrans, for that report. I'm an OBGYN physician and scientist by trade, and but I was raised by parents who grew up in Brooklyn, New York City. And perhaps I might best describe myself as a qualified, what they might call a nudge. So my comments are taken in that light. I want to thank the SANDAG programmers for the outline addition, apparently, for the agenda items. Makes it really easy to click on the item number and go to the supporting materials. That's been a problem. So thank staff. That is great. The history I've seen over the past 15, 16 years being in San Diego is that if you ask SANDAG, they will make it so, or they will tell you what they need to make it so. So I want to congratulate, I live up near the Manchester interchange, and that is a masterful complex. And I was glad to see what I wasn't even aware of, the additionals that are going to make it even better. So kudos to everybody involved. I'm pleased to see the ultimate design may be coming forward. I want to comment on pedestrian integration and ticketing. I am in Del Mar and I'm going up to Los Angeles this weekend for a day seminar. And I would gladly take public transportation because I just need to transport myself. But every time I've tried to do this, I wind up spending hours online trying to match buses to trains to walkways to figure out, and there are competing ways, whether I have to take a Uber or a taxi, and I can't ticket it in one stop. And so one of the things I would urge is for integration of the financial aspects of ticketing so that you can go from the border up to wherever, and you don't have to sit there calculating on the internet. I think that might be a definite help for some. Even coming to this meeting, I took my car because it just takes too long for me. In the morning, especially, there are other things that happen. And so might consider paying some attention to that. If I leave my car, I need reliability and time savings to access public transportation. So I remind us that that may be important. And I see I have 19 seconds. I might suggest having a personal pedestrian armband that transmits anonymous data to the smart system that's being planned. You don't have to know my identity, but you may need to know that I'm crossing the crosswalk, particularly if I'm sight impaired. So I don't see that there are plans to include that. I might offer that as a suggestion. Thank you again. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dr. Bylash. Madam Clerk, are there any other public comments on this item?
No, Chair, no other comments.
Thank you. Bring it back to committee members for questions or comments. Dustin?
Yeah, thank you, Alan, for being here. I live in Oceanside. I work in Del Mar. I see your progress daily. I'm impressed by the speed in which the project is progressing. I compare it sometimes to my in-laws live in Orange County, so we go through the El Toro area to get to Irvine, and that project seems never ending. I never see anybody working on it. I never see anything opening up. I just see a bunch of lanes that might be used. So kudos to you guys. Your speed and efficiency is just, it's outstanding.
Thank you. Yes, Sunny.
Alan, you mentioned some of the increases in costs and things like that, that is increasing your risk factors. What is the status of funding to complete the project? Can you give us kind of a picture of, does this mean delays in completion, or where is the money coming from? So that would be helpful.
So it was a great question. So the last piece is fully funded, budgeted. Now we're beginning to work with the contractor on getting their prices. So we don't have an exact answer of what the gap is. The good news is we've got some opportunities to adjust scope and defer things to future projects. So, before we come back to you and ask for more money, we're a long ways from doing that. I'm very hopeful that we can keep it within the existing budget, but I put it out there almost as a program risk,
Does this mean, you said it's funded based on what you had in as far as estimates, engineer's estimate?
Right.
But you don't know what the contractor is going to come in with a bid and how much higher that may be? Is that the case?
That's where we're at right now.
And what's the timing of that bid?
In CMGC, it's kind of a little of a rolling effort, right? So we
Yes.
agree on quantities, we agree on production rates. We're about halfway through it, so we don't have a final number for them yet. I'd say we're probably 6 weeks away, 8 weeks
6 weeks.
away
Okay.
from having a final
All
number.
right. So we'll be looking forward to hearing your next report then.
Yep. And the other thing we're doing is, there's a lot of new money out there in terms of IIJA money and that sort of thing. So we're pursuing some of that. I mean, I-5 is an important climate adaptation corridor, so we're going after some of that funds as well. So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for all your efforts. It's a wonderful project. Thanks.
thank you.
Les?
Yeah, first off, Tim, thanks for the comments. We appreciate those. It's nice to see you here. And Alan, always nice to see you and congratulations on the work. I just wanted to confirm something you said early in your presentation, that there haven't been any construction claims. If I heard that right, that's incredible, and congratulations to your team and the construction team, if that's correct. I just wanted to confirm that.
That is correct. And Midcoast had the same success, right? And I put a lot of that towards the CMGC model on these large complex projects, mega projects, right? It allows you to do that true up of expectations prior to breaking ground. So maybe it's a little bit slower to start, but once contractor hits, you've worked out all of the kinks, and there's no opportunity. There's a lot less opportunity for conflict, which low bid jobs tend to have.
Yeah, thanks and congratulations.
Alan, thank you so much for the data that you're sharing about, congestion and travel speeds. Is that done over a period of years? I mean, do you collect that data actively on different segments over a period of time?
Yes, definitely. And another emerging science, right? The old way we used to do that is loops in the pavement. They're kind of problematic. They break down, they fray, and then we lose the signal. The new way is cell phone driven. So we're actually buying subscriptions from folks who give us cell phone data directly. So a lot bigger coverage and a lot more consistent coverage. So yeah, you'll be seeing more from us.
I think that's really important because we hear a lot in the policy discussions about the concept of induced demand and arguments against roadway expansions. The argument is that there is a temporary reduction in congestion, and the data bears that out, at least in this one segment, that it is it's faster for folks to get through, but that makes driving more convenient and thus induces additional trips. And so now you widen and it's good for a little while, and then over time, right, that excess capacity is eaten away, and you get basically exactly back where you were before. So I think getting this sort of data is really critical to understanding whether that theory, in actuality, I know there's been other kind of longitudinal studies about it, but I think that data collection via cell phones is really important. I'll be interested to see as in years, in the years to come where we wind up. Okay. Thank you so much, Alan, for being here. We appreciate your update. And with that, we will move on to our item number 9, which is the appointment of a subcommittee members for the fiscal year 2024 TransNet Triennial Performance Audit. And this item will be presented by Michael.
Good morning, everybody and members of the ITALC. So in accordance with the TransNet Extension Ordinance, one of the responsibilities of the ITALC is to conduct triennial performance audits of SANDAG and TransNet recipient agencies. The performance audits are intended to examine performance over a 3-year period and consider recommendations to various processes, including contracting, construction permitting, and other related processes to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of TransNet expenditures. The FY 2024 audit covering fiscal years 2021 through 2023 will be due fiscal year 2024. And because of that, what we're asking from the ITALC today is to appoint a subcommittee of no more than 3 voting members to work with a consultant in conducting the federal year 2024 triennial performance audit. Tracy Drager, who's not here, as the county auditor / controller would also serve on the subcommittee as a non-voting member. And thank you for your time. That concludes my presentation, and we're open to any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Michael, Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Chair, we have no public comments.
Okay, thank you. We'll bring it back to committee members. However, seeing Mr. Fuller's term is expiring and that leaves just 3 members present, and we need 3. I don't know if there's a lot of discussion or kind of option here. So I'm open to feedback for how we proceed and perhaps tabling this item. I don't know if that's appropriate, staff, if we could continue this item to our next meeting to when we have additional members present, or whether we need to make a decision today.
So the number of the members of the subcommittee doesn't necessarily have to be 3. It can be less than 3. It's just a maximum of 3 members.
I
Yes,
would
Sunny.
like to re-up my participation. I was on the last round, and I thought it was really helpful to be on that subcommittee. We also have missing members, Pedro and others. We can nominate as well, right? We don't just have to volunteer. Let's get this done, especially if they're not here.
Yes.
But I just want to mention I would like to serve again.
Great. Thank you, Sunny. Yeah, I also would be interested in serving on the subcommittee. I found the selection process to be interesting and haven't had an opportunity to do it. So I certainly would be interested in doing that. So it sounds like we have 2 that are interested, and I don't know as to Les, if you are interested in serving as well.
I'd be happy to as well, but I isn't Stuart on it now, but he's retiring. Right. And then what about Pedro? Yes, I'm happy to, and we can offer it to him if he's dying to have it, I'll relinquish, but otherwise I'm happy to do it.
So it sounds like we do have some consensus. So I will make a motion to appoint Sunny House, Les Hopper, and myself, Jonathan Frankel, to the subcommittee for the fiscal year 24 triennial performance audit.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dustin. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair. For CEO Private Sector, Sunny House.
I'm not used to being first. I'm always last.
Sorry.
It's okay, Francesca.
Keeping on your toes. For Finance and Budgeting, Stuart Halpern is absent. For Real Estate Right-of-Way Acquisition, Chair Frankel.
Yes.
For Biology Environmental, Dustin Fuller.
Yes.
For Licensed Engineer, Les Hopper.
Yes.
And licensed civil traffic engineer and contractor construction are both absent today. So with that motion passes with those members present.
Thank you so much, Francesca. Okay, at this time, we'll move to item 10, which is proposed TransNet ordinance amendments. This is once again related to our membership and selection process and proposed amendments to our bylaws. And so this item we were intending to have a discussion and to take potential action on next steps related to the amendments that we've been proposed that were presented to the board. Unfortunately, did not pass by the 2/3 majority that were needed. With this item, similarly, without a majority of our other members present, I don't know that certainly happy to have discussion on this item amongst the members that are here and perhaps advance the conversation. But I think it would be my preference to have those members that are absent participate in the next steps. So with that, Madam Clerk, I'll ask you if there are any public comments on this item.
Thank you, Chair. We have no public comments.
Okay, so I'll bring it back to committee members for kind of initial discussion, open to thoughts about how we proceed on this.
I just think you're right. We did have a brief discussion last board meeting, last ITALK meeting, and it was basically to have a longer or more definitive discussion. But with the rest of the members missing, it would be good to, and it's not a rush, right? We can defer to the next meeting.
I agree. I would table it.
Okay, so I do know that we have a very full agenda at our next month's meeting. So Zara will have to connect on how we potentially adjust some items in order to facilitate this discussion. I don't know if that's possible.
Yes, I will look at the agenda and we'll talk about the items that possibly can be moved to the May agenda or just moved around somehow.
Okay, thank you so much, Zara. Yes, Sunny.
I do have a question. What's the status of the rest of the amendment for ordinance?
Yes,
Or will we have a report in the follow-on meetings?
yes, staff is still working with the subcommittee of the mobility working group, and they have come up with some proposed amendments based on those conversations. So the plan is to bring that to the full mobility working group sometime probably late spring or early summer. And also to bring back an update for ITALK to review. Mhm.
Thank you so much. Question for council. Do we need a motion on a continuance to a date certain or?
We do not. We can just bring it back subject to the chair's agenda authority.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, with that, that will conclude that item and we will move on to item number 11, which is our draft fiscal year 2024 TransNet capital program budget update. And Michelle will be presenting that. And welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Michelle Smith, and I actually will be attempting to fill in Ariana's shoes moving forward as the manager of the ITALK program. So I just wanted to let you guys know you'll be seeing a lot more of me. Thank you. And I'm here to present the draft fiscal year 2024 TransNet capital program budget update. So the draft budget consists of 64 active capital projects in various stages of development, ranging from environmental to construction. And this includes the TransNet program of projects, goods movements, bikes, and CMCPs. The proposed FY24 budget is approximately $8.2 billion and is proposing an overall increase of $267 million, which consists of an increase in federal, $202 million, state, $53 million, TransNet, $11.7 million, and actually a funding reduction of local of about $800,000. A summary table of the current approved budget versus draft budget can be found in attachment 1 to your item or on page 56 of the agenda packet. So it looks like this. So here's the table here. The attachment provides the CIP number, the project name, the current FY23 approved budget, the proposed FY24 budget. And if there are changes, it's going to provide you with the increase or decrease to the budget, along with the reason for this change. This attachment also notifies you of which phase the project is currently funded through. So this year, there's a little bit of a caveat. So on page 7 of attachment 2 or page 62 of your agenda package, there's an additional table that provides you with information on 2 projects that were previously funded and are being brought back into the FY24 budget. So I wanted to provide some additional information because the majority of this funding is in prior years. So we're not actually adding this funding to the budget. So overall, the budget is going up about $224 million and we're adding about $4.4 million of TransNet. On attachment 2, beginning on page 63 of your agenda packet, shows the proposed milestones of the capital program that we plan to accomplish in FY24. Currently, there are roughly 30 milestones planned for FY24. On page 1 of attachment 2, you can see the milestones planned for the major corridors and goods movements projects. Of the 16 milestones, 4 projects shown in green are scheduled to begin construction and 2 projects shown in black are scheduled to open to public. Page 2 of this attachment provides the milestones for the bike program with 5 projects scheduled to begin construction and 1 project scheduled to open to public. Throughout the fiscal year, staff continually reviews and updates project budget and milestones and will provide quarterly updates as seen as number 4 of your agenda today. And we will provide you with updates throughout the year. The draft FY24 program budget is scheduled to be presented for consideration by the Board of Directors on March 24th, 2023. And the final 2024 program budget is scheduled for board approval in May and will go into effect on July 1st, 2023. And with that, I'm here for questions.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Look forward to working with you. Congratulations on the new assignment.
Thank you.
That's great news. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
No, chair, no public comments.
Thank you. Okay, we'll bring it back to the members for questions or comments for Michelle. Dustin?
On your attachment 2, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. It shows a milestone and a baseline FY24 finish. Is this telling me when you plan to start construction? So I'm looking at number 7, Coaster Sandy to Lagoon double track phase 1 construction. that mean it's going to begin construction or plan to begin construction in April of 24?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sonny.
I just want to thank you for the presentation.
Oh, no.
It's a lot easier to understand the
Great.
summary table and everything, so we can see where the changes are. So thank you
You're
for
welcome.
listening.
Any additional member comments? Okay, great. Well, this was just a discussion item, so thank you so much for that presentation, Michelle. And we will go ahead and move on to item number 12. This is a fiscal year 2022 TransNet Major Corridor and Bikeway Program Project Annual Status Update. And Chelsea Gonzalez will be presenting this item. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, good morning, Chair. Good morning, and my name is Chelsea Gonzalez, and I'm a Senior Project Control Analyst in the Capital Project Office. So I'll give you a little bit of background on the reports, and then we'll kind of walk through the key data points. So a little bit of background on how these two reports came together. Back in the 2015 TransNet Triennial Performance Audit, there were recommendations provided on how to enhance our project management practices and improve our reporting for major corridors and bikeway programs. In response to these audit recommendations, we developed these reports, the annual TransNet program status reports in fiscal year 2017. So these reports monitor various metrics such as projects delivered on schedule, projects delivered on budget, contract award value against engineers' estimates, and bikeway miles constructed. So today I'll be presenting to you kind of the key data points for our fiscal year 2022 updates. So this is basically data captured through June 30th of 2022. So we'll begin with the major corridors report first, and that would be attachment 1 in item 12. So the first metric that we show here is leveraged TransNet program funding. So what this chart shows you here is that we were able to take 29% of TransNet funding for major corridors programs and successfully leverage 71% of outside funds from state, federal, and other local sources. So that's about 2.76 billion of TransNet to give you the remaining balance coming from federal, state, and local sources. About 6.74 billion. And so in the ordinance, we do have a mandatory goal of matching our TransNet dollars at a 1-to-1 ratio. So every TransNet dollar needs to be met with at least $1 of outside funding. However, we've historically exceeded this goal. And so this year is no different. And we're at about a 2.44, so $2.44 of outside funds for every TransNet dollar that comes in. So we've been extremely successful in continuing to meet that goal. And then moving down into the second half of page 1 is our schedule milestone attainment. And so we closely monitor projects advertised as well as projects open to public each fiscal year. So in fiscal year 2022, we had 2 planned advertisements that unfortunately had to be rescheduled. However, both are on the horizon for being met. So the first of those being the SR 56 HOV lanes. So there was a delay in the execution of a co-op agreement between Caltrans and the city of San Diego that has delayed advertisement of that project. But that's kind of on the horizon. So we expect that to be complete in FY 2023. And then the second one being the SR 11 Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. And that has to do with the timing of the funding authorization. So that will be achieved soon as well. In terms of projects open to public, though, we had a really big year. I think this was the biggest year we've ever had in recent memory in terms of the number of projects open to public. And so we had 6 planned milestones and all 6 openings occurred. So you'll see that those 6 projects are listed there. Lots of big ones, Mid-Coast, Manchester Avenue to Palmer Airport Road, lots on the I-5, and then in addition to one of our goods movement. So a really tremendous year to see all 6 of those openings occurring. And then if we go to page 2 of the attachment, we present to you support to capital ratio data for the program of projects. And so this metric looks at the ratio of our support budget. So consider phases such as admin, environmental, design, construction management, legal and communication, and what's the percentage of the sum of those as a portion of our construction capital budget. So if you look, we separated into three categories. So we have projects less than 30 million, projects 30 to 100 million, and then those 100 million or more. So this fiscal year, pretty consistent across the board, a little bit of a decrease on those projects less than 30 million. But otherwise, the other two budget categories stayed about the same. So pretty consistent data across the board. Moving down, our next metric is construction contracts versus engineers' estimates. So in this, we typically gauge for any of the construction contracts that we've executed in the year for traditional design bid build projects. What was the engineer's estimate before we went out to advertise, and then what came back once we put the project out to advertise. This fiscal year, we only had one construction contract that was awarded, and it was via CMGC. And so since that's managed kind of in a different way, we don't reflect that in this report. So we just have historical data going back to 2021, but we'll continue to monitor this going forward. And then moving down to total budget variance, we present to you what is the total project budget for any projects that were closed out last year. What was the budget pre-construction versus the project cost at completion? So we had one project that was closed out last year, and it was our orange and blue line traction power substations. And so the final closeout cost of the project came in 5% lower than the cost pre-construction. And then the last metric, construction budget variance, is similar in that, but that it just looks at the construction portion of the budget. So looking at just the construction phase in particular, we saw a cost savings of 10% compared to pre-construction costs. So with that, I'll pause there in case there's any questions on this first attachment before I move on to the bike program.
Yes, Les.
Actually, Chelsea, I think I'd rather have you just complete the presentation, and then we'll come back, bring it back for questions.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to attachment number 2. And so the bikeway report displays most of the same metrics as the major corridors report. However, there are some different metrics on page 1. So that are unique to the bike program in particular. So we'll begin with those sections. So the first chart here, bikeway miles by phase, provides you with a breakdown of the mileage between our various project delivery phases. So how many miles are in environmental, design, under construction, or open to the public? So as you can see in this chart, at the conclusion of FY 2022, about half of our miles were either complete or under construction, and then about half being mostly in the design phase. And even just in the first half of FY 2023, we have another 6.7 miles that's already under construction. So that kind of merging of design going into construction continues to grow as we continue to deliver the program. And then looking now at the bikeway miles delivered by fiscal year chart, this displays to you how many miles of bikeway have been completed through the conclusion of each fiscal year. So through the end of FY 2022, we had almost 25 miles open to public. And then we have the remaining portions of the program broken out by when we expect those to go open to the public as well. So FY 2022 was a big year for the bike program with completion of the 4th and 5th Avenue bikeways, Georgia Mead bikeways, and Landis. So we opened 11 new miles of bikeway last fiscal year, which was really tremendous. And then moving to the second half of page 1, we provide you with an update on how many miles of bikeway are with the city of San Diego for final design review. So this is a key part of our final design review and execution process, getting ready for construction. So at the conclusion of last fiscal year, we had 5 projects that were still with the city under review, and they completed review of 2 projects during that time span as well. So we continue to work closely with them and are trying to work to strategically get these through that final review so we can prepare them for advertisement on our end here. And then moving on to page 2 of attachment 2. Similarly here, we have leveraged TransNet program funding. So the bike program does not have a required leveraging match that is set out in the ordinance. However, we still continue to do really well in matching and leveraging outside funding. So at the conclusion of the fiscal year, we were at about a 50-50 split in terms of TransNet funding versus outside federal, state, and local sources. So we're still matching at about a 1-to-1 ratio, even though it's not an ordinance goal. And then moving down to support to capital ratio, we break down these projects a little bit differently than the major corridors, just because the budgets typically are not as high as what we see on the major corridors side. So we have projects that are less than $10 million and then projects $10 million or more. So for those less than 10 million, not a huge shift, going between that 69 to 70% range. However, those $10 million or more, we did see a slight uptick to 51%. So I think just really indicative of the, increasing support costs that we see for these types of projects. And then moving down to construction contracts. So we did have 2 design bid build contracts that were awarded for the bike program last year. So when looking at the 2 of those combined, it was about a 12% variance in engineers' estimates versus executed construction contract. So I think this is just, really representative of escalated costs and what we're seeing right now in terms of going out to construction for our projects. And then lastly, schedule milestone attainment, looking at projects advertised and open to the public. We had 5 planned advertisements for the bike program and accomplished 3 out of those 5. The 2 that were rescheduled are planned to occur over the next few months. So those are definitely on the horizon. And then we had 2 planned openings and accomplished both of those openings. And as I mentioned, that's the 4th and 5th Avenue Bikeway and Georgia Mead and Landis Bikeways. So that concludes my report, Chair, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for your presentation. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do have one public comment, Tim Bylash.
Thank you, committee. My name is Dr. Tim Bylash. Just a quick comment. Sorry to bother you with this. I appreciate the report. I'm not only not an engineer, but I'm certainly not an accountant. So I really appreciate the summaries of this. I just wanted to pay some attention from my eye to page 68 is numbered on the PDF I have for the construction contracts, total budget variance, and construction budget variance. And of course, from the outside, I see large numbers easier. And I see fiscal year 2021, 22, and some of these were the COVID years. So, and of course, the footnotes of all this, but I see in fiscal 20 for the total budget variation, $128 million minus 34%. And I don't know what is or isn't included in these things, but when I see a number like that, it makes me think that the budgets tend to fluctuate. And I bring attention to some of the public comments, particularly in some of the news counter reports of Sandag activities. They don't include asterisks usually. And for fiscal year 22, I see a minus 10%, $2.6 million. So I see numbers between 2 and 128 million variances in budgets, completed projects, everything that goes into that. And I would just want to remind us that when we as the public hear information about a number of dollars that's being, quote, wasted or not wasted, that there's a lot more that goes into that. And I invite the public to go beyond the what I call blogger journalism that sometimes pops up, where you get one member of some committee or group and you get a statement and you run with it in an article, and committee members or organization people aren't allowed to even comment on it before it gets out there. So I hope this is a timely contribution to your committee. And again, thank you for simplifying this for me.
Thank you, Dr. Bylash. Madam Clerk, do we have any other public comments on this item?
No, Chair, no other public comment.
Okay, thank you. We'll bring it back to committee members for comments and questions. Les?
Thanks for the presentation. I had a question on the first attachment. I think it was that you noted that the 56 HOV and the port of entry were both delayed. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, are those sections of the POE and design, is the 56 HOV in design, or is it ready for construction, or where are those projects?
Sure. And Sharon, by all means, feel free to supplement me. I know for the 56 HOV lanes, I think we're extremely close in terms of like being ready to advertise in the next couple months, assuming that the city and Caltrans can reach an agreement on the co-op agreement. And then the port of entry, we're looking like around the next 6 months at being ready to advertise for that project, but I'll let you fill in any gaps.
Hi, Les. Happy to jump in here. Yes, so with the 56 HOV lanes, the city, the funding is coming from a developer that was conditioned to provide 22.5 million towards that effort. And that information, I believe, was brought before City Council. And there were some questions about, well, why aren't you doing, because the project is going to be HOV lanes. And of course, everybody wants to see the connectors, upgraded as well. And, but this contribution was just for the HOV lanes, which will help because there's a lot of people who get on and off the freeway within the first 3 miles of either end. So really it's in the process now of the city releasing that 22.5 million to Caltrans to begin so they can issue it for bid, but it's ready to go out. So that's kind of the background on that particular project. And the point of entry for the Otay Mesa 2 project. We're working with our federal partners to try to reach agreement on the elements that are going to be funded by SANDAG as opposed to the elements that are going to be funded through contributions by the federal government. And so we're working with them to resolve those issues. And you can imagine that is not a swifty process. So we're continuing to work through that process with the goal of partnering with our with Customs and Border Protection and GSA on design, as soon as possible so we can advance that project as quickly as possible.
Sunny?
I just have a general question regarding delivery of TransNet with the dollars that are available. Seems like the construction trend is slowing down. We're doing a lot in planning and design. And I don't know if that's because of lack of dollars or how. Can you explain, we're not at the height of construction anymore. It's more, looking to the future. So what does the future hold?
Do you want me to take that one? Sure. Okay, sure. So from, as you're all aware, our TransNet funds are getting to be quite lean. And we are delivering on a number of construction projects. We have approximately between 11 and 15 construction projects that will be going out to bid within the next, 6 to 18 months. And we have a number of projects that are in the fully designed, ready to go, waiting on funding. And unfortunately, what we need is a local match, and what we don't have is much of a local match. So we are. So I think what you're going to see over the next several years is we'll be pushing to complete a number of construction projects that are currently funded. Also, construction projects have become more expensive, with inflation, prices are going up. I'm hopeful that we're peaking, but it's my guess is as good as anyone's. So we're going to be delivering, like I said, those construction projects over the next several years. And then we're going to be continuing to bring in as much money from outside sources as possible, but without a local match, we are very much hobbled in terms of the improvements that we can bring to the region.
Okay, thank you. I mean, that is the reality. It's just, we need to be transparent that it's not all rosy and peachy, because there is going to be a time where we're not able to deliver all this wonderful work unless there's more money available through a local match. So
that is correct.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
I would also point out too, Sunny, that on attachment 2 for this item, which is the planned FY24 milestones, there are a number of projects, particularly in the bike program, that are going out into construction next year. So if you wanted to see the projects that are coming up.
I did see that. Yes. Thank you.
Chelsea, I have a couple of questions. Firstly, on the support to capital ratios, why are the bikeway projects so much higher, 25%? I mean, I know the categories, it's not apples to apples. It's less than 30 million and the category in the bikeway is less than 10. So, I understand that there could be scope differences in there, but why is it so much more expensive on the support aspect too, on our bikeway projects?
Yeah, I think it's a few different things. I think a lot of it, there's time intensive environmental processes. And then in addition, the design review that we've seen that takes quite a bit of time as well. And the longer that the project's in design, then the more consultant dollars to make revisions and rescope. So I think the prep time for a lot of these bike projects is really heavy, but also the capital side of it might not be as expensive as what you might see on a highway or transit project. So it doesn't balance out as much. If you have something that's really capital intensive to kind of balance out that ratio, then that support kind of peaks through more so.
Sure. Yeah, those budgets are just larger. And then there's a note on the bikeway trend, that portion of support to capital, that there's new environmental policies that lead to longer environmental review periods. Do you know, I mean, what is that referring to specifically, these new environmental
I
policies?
think part of it is that we've had to take an approach where some of our projects initially, we only had to go for CEQA, and then we're able to move them through for advertisement and construction just with CEQA clearance. But now we've kind of moved to trying to federalize and get everything through NEPA as well, so that we can compete for these outside funds. So I think part of it is just us having to go through that additional federal environmental clearance process, and additional time and money that goes into preparing our projects in that manner as well.
And Chair, I also want to say, like, for bike projects, we have to work with more partners. In regards to, if it's a big construction project for Caltrans, you just have Caltrans and Sandag. Whereas for bike projects, you have the city, you have BNSF, it crosses the railroad line. So a lot of various partners we have to work with as well. So that would increase that support as well.
Sure.
And Chair, if I may also augment that, these bikeway projects, a lot of people think about bikeway projects as, oh, you're just laying down or widening, just adding a little extra room for bikeway projects. But they're really much more than that. They're really more, community improvement projects, streetscape projects. We're looking at lighting, we're looking at resurfacing roadways, we're looking at increasing pedestrian access and curb ramps and providing landscaping. And it is, they are transformative for communities. They're not a little bit of extra pavement. They really are complete streetscape projects.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I had the chance to, and it wasn't the first time, but to bike along the Mead Avenue bikeway this past weekend, and it just makes such a tremendous difference. I think the bikeway projects are really, really important, and for the whole neighborhood. In a variety of ways. And so in that regard, it seems like, you list 5 projects that are currently in the city of San Diego review. So there's for example, a 0.2 mile segment that it seems like the plans in this column where it says plans under review, and then the date, Chelsea, that is when the review began at the city of San Diego.
That's correct.
So we're having, basically 3 years of review for a 0.2 mile segment. And so, to staff, I mean, I think it'd be great to understand from the city's perspective. I know we just had the city of San Diego in, but I know that the review process was at DSD. It got moved to a different department. And so it'd be great to have somebody, whoever is responsible for managing the reviews of the city of San Diego, come in and talk to us about it, because I think public is very interested in seeing these projects happen. And 3 years to review a 0.2 mile segment seems excessive. And then finally, Chelsea, just the format of the report is excellent. I think, the way that the data is presented is very easy to digest, and just wanted to commend staff for, how this is put together. It's very easy to understand and read, and it's just very well done. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair Frankel.
Yes, Les.
All right, I have one last one. I'm going to, I guess, channel my inner Pedro for this question since he's not here. But I'm curious on the support to capital costs that Jonathan brought up. And just if you could elaborate a little more, like I'm looking at, it doesn't matter, just pick the 30 to 100 million, roadway ones, and we're around 50%-ish. So if you had $100 million construction project, we're saying that the support costs are basically 50 million minus right-of-way acquisition or anything. So that's just environmental engineering and all the preliminary stuff. Is that right? Or could you elaborate on what goes, into the support side?
Sure. So on the support side, it includes administration, environmental, preliminary engineering, design, construction management, legal, and communication services. So you're correct. It doesn't include right-of-way capital or right-of-way support, and it wouldn't include contingency, but basically all other support phases. So yeah, but if you're seeing a ratio of 50%, that means all those support costs together represent 50% of whatever the capital budget is. So if it's a $100 million project, then there's $50 million of that $50 million that is attributed towards support, and then $100 million is capital.
Perfect, thanks. And I know that the report only goes back a couple of years. And again, I love the format. It's really easy to follow, but maybe somebody, Susan or somebody else, have you seen that trend going up, say over the last 10 years, if we were going to go back, or has it been pretty consistent?
I would say generally, yes, it's gone up, but I would say since we've started doing this in 2017, it's been, I think, still relatively close as to where you see it. I don't think it's deviated more than 5 to 6% in any of these categories, but I could definitely, we have the data going back to 2017 when we started preparing these reports, so we could take a look at that to see how much it really has shifted since that first year.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, seeing no other comments. Thank you so much, Chelsea. We appreciate your presentation. And we will move on to item 13, which is our future meeting schedule. And for everyone here, the next regular iTalk meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 12th at 9:30 a.m. And that concludes our agenda today. And if there's nothing further, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.